Kyle here from All Media Reviews, here to do the one of maybe 3 vinyl tags or 4 vinyl tags. I don't do these very often just because they're a little tedious. It's not so much, it's corralling them and finding them and then putting them back, because some of them go 30, 40 deep. This one is like 20, this is actually only 16. I thought it was more than that actually. So vinyl tag 2024. There's a prog rock or prog vinyl tag, and then there's a Monkeys one. Those are the other two. But I'm doing the vinyl. This is the 2024 vinyl community VC vinyl tag. So okay. So the first prompt, and I want to shout out to Death by Unicorn who did this, who got it from Neve the prog nerd who did this. Anyone else who's done this, I'm not remembering. But anyway, and I'll pass this along. Maybe other people can do this. 2024, like early 2024 vinyl tag. First one, an album, and I'll post the prompts as Brendan from Death by Unicorn did as well. An album that from a band that you discovered in 2023. Well, discovered many, but the biggest one clearly to me from memory was Brian Scary and the Shredding Tears. So here's one of their albums. This is the only album I have by them on vinyl at this point. Flight of the Knife, so from 2008 I believe it was, so like great year. So that's the first prompt. The second prompt, an album from a band you saw live last year. Well, I don't know, I didn't see as many concerts as I didn't do a concert. I should really do that, but I still saw like maybe 15, 20 concerts, but one of them was a big deal to see again. I mean, I saw Peter Gabriel, I could have used that one, but I saw everything from the second time, first time as a headliner. So here's their album. Their debut album I got on vinyl too. They're the one that got issued, Man Alive from 2010. So the British band, math pop, great band. Third one, a 10-inch album. Well, I don't have a lot, but I have a few of them over there. And there's a number of them that I really enjoy, really look at. But one of them I mentioned the other day. They're going to maybe put it on new music at some point, but this is their album from 2004, 20 years ago. The Velveteens Elysium. No, this isn't a gatefold. I got some other ones that are gatefold, but this is a masterpiece, though. This is a fantastic record, but it's a double 10-inch, actually. But, it's like piano, Middle Eastern sounding at points, progressive art rock. But the one thing about this record is that it features no guitar. It's they did their previous record, the Fierce Parade did, and it sounded a lot like Radiohead. And then the records after it have featured guitar, of course, but this one didn't. That was what it was. It was a songwriting experiment to try to write music without guitar. This is the best track on it, Chimera Obscurant, but it's like 10 minutes. But yeah, if you've never heard the Velveteen and you like progressive rock, this is the clear go-to for me. And even like Lorenzo from Alt Prog Core. Here they are. Here's the band. But anyway, I think they're from Canada, but I could be wrong about that. I know Judah Nagler sang on the one Never in White Lights record. One of them. I think it was the first one. Okay, so number 4. A vinyl that you have a colored pressing. Well, I've got, I don't know, I'd say out of all the vinyl records I have here, I added it something around 750, maybe closer to 800 now. Adding, I don't know, 40 or 50 over the last 9 months. What are you doing here? I'd say at least a quarter, maybe a third of them are colored. So it's kind of, you could pick a lot of different ones. But the one that I thought 1 or 2. I could have gone with Rush's Hemispheres, but I have a version of Wish You Were Here. I know I waited a long time to buy Wish You Were Here, and this is a special colored pressing of Wish You Were Here. Because I didn't want to just buy any old one. Even though Wish You Were Here is, well, it's not my favorite Pink Floyd record. It's kind of a unique record in some ways. And I was like, well, if I'm going to buy Wish You Were Here in vinyl, I should get like a more unique version. And I found this, so it's blue. So anyway. I don't know in terms of the rarity and the value and even the pressing. I would guess this is pressed sometime in the 70s, but maybe it was a reissue. I haven't looked it up. I haven't done the whole Discogs thing with looking up my collection, unfortunately. That's sort of taken a back seat to other stuff that I intended to. So, alright. that's the, whatever, that the fourth prompt? Yeah. Alright, the fifth prompt. An album that you think deserves more attention. Well, I could come up with 100 or more records, but here's one that I frequently do mention, or I mention it definitely often, and I'm like pressing beating. What are you doing, kitty? Pepe Deluxe's masterpiece from 2012, The Queen of the Wave. And I've got it on CD. I should have pulled out the CD. I've got a box set CD. I've got a normal standard CD, and I believe this is a gatefold. Yeah. But this is a masterpiece. It's totally got me into them, and you know, it's like in terms of neo psychedelic music. Unfortunately, the case for my has been torn a little bit. That's why I'd like to buy another pressing of this. But yeah, if you like, I mean, I've talked about them frequently, and they have a new album that's going to be coming out in 2024. A new song that came out a couple weeks ago. But if you like retro sounding, sort of neo psychedelic pop rock. Really good, pristine production and vintage instrumentation. You can't go wrong with this to me. Now, for some reason, there's a percentage of people that have checked it out and didn't care for it. I don't get it exactly. I think this deserved more attention. It did a little bit in 2012, but they kind of just went by the wayside. Whereas like a band like King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard they started around the same time, and they've just gotten massive. I mean, they've been putting out record after record after record, but I would take this record over every single track they've ever recorded at this point. I don't mind. I like King Gizzard, but Pepe Deluxe they're special to me. That record specifically. That's why I think it deserves more attention. Your favorite release from 2023? Well, I've mentioned this and shown it a few different times, but I mean, it's splitting hairs, but I'm still going with Small Leaks, Things, Ships, Low Tide. Love it. First record in whatever it was, 7-8 years, something like that. 2017, so it was 6 years actually, but very unique record, very kind of, the band have gone through a lot. They went through a lot previously too, but yeah, Floating's probably my favorite track. The last two tracks, My Piano and Buying Time. Quirky, rhythmic, the drum work is just off the charts on this. Their cover of Girls Just Want to Have Fun is very interesting, and but I'm a fanboy, but you know, mathy, you know, post-rock from Portland, Oregon. Let's see here. So this is where I have a couple of additional items to maybe show, but an album which is in another language. Well, I have Sigur Ros's, this is a first pressing, I believe, of the Brackets record. I got this at half price on a sale for 50% off at half price books. From 2002, I believe it is. Their like third record. I've always liked this record. I mean, it's very soundtrack, very moody. Of course, they made up their own language basically. They're from Iceland, Sigur Rós, but you know, I mean, I don't know if this is just a standard pressing. It looks like it's yeah, there's the labels and stuff, but I mean, all the songs don't have a title. It's just untitled, whatever it is. It's a little bit like A Pleasant Shade of Grey in that sense from Fate's Warning. But this is a great atmospheric record. The mood, some of the texture they use, the percussion. And, I mean, I love Agaitis Burzin, the one that came out a couple of years before, like 99. But, I mean, when I'm pushing stuff, this is the album that got me, like, converted me. I'm not a massive Sigur Rós fan. I've always wanted to see them live, and they have come here. I just didn't end up going, but yeah, I've always kind of had the most sentimentality for this. I have memories of going to see a documentary film about them, and they played this. Was it that? No, it might have been like St. Vincent. There was some concert they were playing this as like the house music. I'm going to have to get a new sleeve for this because this does not want to go in very easily. Well, now it's going a little bit, but it's very surreal. I mean, they're kind of their own thing. I mean, they're post-rock, but they don't sound like most post-rock either. That's what makes them so unique. But at the same time, they're mood music. But so to go along with a foreign, like, you know, non-English language. What did I do with those? Yeah, I wanted to feature a couple of compact discs. I know this is a vinyl tag, but there's the band from Argentina. Their first two albums. I mentioned this when Scott from the Prog Corner did his foreign language list. It was last week, I think, or week before. I think it was last week. The band Nexus, who I saw at Nearfest. These are our first two albums, Datres Dalen Brawl and Metanaya. Metanaya's... I like both these records, but Metanaya is the one that I prefer. There's one track in here that has an unbelievably great guitar solo. It does kind of sound like a Steve Hackett thing in some ways, but it's just infectious. I forget what song. I played it on the air. Might have been... No, it wasn't the Hands of God 15-minute track. The Universal Nexus? I haven't listened to this album in so long, but they played at Nearfest in 2000, and I saw them, and they blew me away. Their singer, female singer, and she sings... She's got like a deeper tenor or even baritone. She's not the highest pitched singer, but she has a very good voice, and it's in, I think it's in Portuguese. I'm pretty sure they're from Argentina. Now they put out maybe some other records after this, because this one came out in 2001 or 2000. This was 2000. Datres Dan Brawl, and see, they thanked me and they wrote it and stuff like that. I think this was just the next year. But I remember checking their Rate Music page, and they had some other records, and I've never listened to them. I'm guilty as charged, but I don't think they kept the same singer. So, anyway, I don't know what happened to them, if they're even still active. Maybe they are. Maybe they got back. Maybe they broke up and got back together. I don't know. Anyway. So that's number 7. Number 8, a prog rock masterpiece. Well, I could go with any number of albums from the 70s I love. Your Jethro Tull's Thick as a Brick, or Relayer, or Fox, or Selling England. But I'm gonna go with Bridge Across Forever, the sort of modern prog. It's retro sounding prog. This is really the title track is the only kind of smaller, sort of like not as standout-ish a piece, but I still like it. It's a beautiful ballad. But the 3 other tracks on here are just perfection. Stranger in Your Soul is perfect epic, and I don't know if this album came out right now, would I feel that same way about it? Maybe I wouldn't. But at the time, this was like right in my wheelhouse. I was really into, of course, Dream Theater and Marillion and Spock's Beer, and I was getting into the Flower Kings and listening to a lot of the stuff from the 70s, getting more familiar with it. So I want to show it. Everyone's just showing their the vinyl tag. Here's the gatefold. Their second album, Bridge Across Forever. Sadly, it's the last album I really liked from them, and in some ways it's the last music. Some of it, well, not exactly. Yeah, it's just standard black pressing, so I'm not going to even pull up try to go through the whole song and dance with that. But, yeah, this, I don't know, Lightning in a Bottle, well, I love SMMTE, which includes the cover of, the Beatles, or the Procol Harum song and Held 12's an Eye. I think they topped it by a fair amount, even though this album has some heavier riffs that aren't so much included on SMMTE, but they did All of the Above and My New World, which were both epics. My New World's like 15 minutes, but I think that they one-upped it with the... I'll try doing this later. With with Duel of the Devil and Stranger in Your Soul. And Sweet Charlotte Pike is just, it's unbelievably addictive at times. Okay, an instrumental album. Well, I'm slightly cheating here because there is some chanting on this, but 99% in all intents and purposes, this is an instrumental album. I'm choosing Marsscape from 1976, I think, yeah, which is the second sort of conceptual record that Jack Lancaster and Robin Lumley made after Peter and the Wolf. Before, because Phil Collins is on this, before Brand X had officially named themselves Brand X. I don't think Jack Lancaster was part of Brand X. Robin Lumley was, but this is surreal. It's so cinematic sounding. The textures are so sad and delicate and melancholy. The dynamics. It does give you the impression that you're going to Mars. It also obviously sort of harkens to the story of the Martian Chronicles and the planet Mars, So it's like 40 minutes or something like that. And it's a trip, and it's just less is more, and it's so good. My friend played the whole thing on the radio back when I was on KFAI a little over 20 years ago. And I was like, what in the world is this? This is unbelievably good. Your favorite album cover... which I don't really. It's not definitively my favorite. I could have chose like Fair to Midlands, like Fables from a Mayfly. I was looking at the other day. There's a lot of great album covers, but I still kind of have a sentimental attachment to this one. As weird as it is, with the two severed heads and hands, Billy Cobham and George Duke live on tour in Europe. I'll never get sick of this, even though it's just weird and it's just out there. It's not like repulsive. It's cartoonish. It's very kind of comic book cartoonish in some ways, but I still like it. I even though again there are more creative things people have done with album covers, I just think it's unique. It's kind of like where did you come up with that idea? And it's for a live album, and so it's less thinking and more spontaneity and just kind of reaction. So number 10, number 11, a childhood favorite. Well, I could choose a bunch of different records. I'm going with the Rocky 3 soundtrack since this is like the first recorded music I ever bought. It has, of course, Eye of the Tiger, and on cassette tape I bought this. And Gonna Fly Now also was one of the other tracks I was thinking of it for. I mean, does it have my most favorite music as a child? I mean, Eye of the Tiger certainly was a song that would be in my top 5 or 10 songs when I was a kid. But it's more for sentimental reasons, this album, having that and having this. What are you doing, kitty? No, no, no. My cat just likes to explore the record room. Let's see here. So, an album, you know every single word for word. I mean, I don't know if I know absolutely 100% of the words, but this is definitely an album that the lyrics stay with me, and I frequently know. And it has a fair amount, while they're not typical, they're choruses that I think of. It's Dredge's album, Catch Without Arms. I mean, it's progressive, it's artsy, and it's poppy. It's very poppy at times. That quote about, 10 years have gone, 10 years have gone, it's much too long. Trying to do something good for my health, trying to do something good for myself. Make your wallet fat, because mine's on a diet. There's so many, double entendres and metaphors with the lyrics. It was genius. And I know this was, their reaction to what the major, the label, the Interscope, wanted them to do, to write some songs that could reach a wider audience. And it did to an extent. They were putting samples of this album at Best Buy. I guess I could show it. But, I love Dredge, and it's definitely the Dredge album that I've listened to the most. So in that sense, I've memorized lyrics. That's kind of a reason, even though, I mean, I love those 3 records in the middle of their catalog so much. Yeah, I mean, there's just so many lyrics on this album, and I used to listen to it in the morning frequently. Of course, I told that story about always trying to. I would buy a Granny Smith apple. The original cover is actually in that sort of Granny Smith green, but the pressing on vinyl came out in black like this. Yeah, they made it, and they made it. They made it in a lime green. But yeah, I mean, if you've never heard Dredge and you want to know what they're about in some ways, as in terms of being very accessible, and you want to know what their lyrics are more. I mean, they have some lyrics that are more creative writing, kind of imagery and spacey, kind of dream sequency, especially on the previous record, El Cielo. But this record is more relatable from a lyrical standpoint. I don't know. Chris DeGarmo of Queensryche actually did some production on this. If he actually produced the whole thing, his name might be on it. Terry Date, actually. But he played on 1 or 2 tracks. Terry Date, who produced the very first Dream Theater album, actually. When Dream and Day Unite in '89. But this came out in 2005, Catch Without Arms. But anyway, yeah, I mean, it's got a ton of lyrics that I could be quoting for days, for hours. 2 albums with the same color scheme. So there's probably some pretty good examples I'm not remembering right now, but that particular idea has never gone away from these 2 particular albums I'm going to show. I have one of them on vinyl, and I have one of them on compact disc. And I'll full disclosure, I have the compact disc for one of the albums that I don't have on vinyl. While I probably would say this is probably the only album that I would listen to still from this band, maybe, I'm not really that much of a fan of them. When I saw them at live, this is the same year, in the year 2000. I don't know what time of the year they were released. They were released probably within a few months of each other, maybe even less. You have Spock's Beard's V, or 5, and Symphony X's V, or is it V? Yeah, it's V, the New Mythology Suite. So it's not only the same color scheme, they're both on Inside Out Music too, but the same title. Now this is known as the New Mythology Suite, and it's only part of it, I guess you could say. I saw them at Prog Power USA a couple different times. The first one in 2001. Had the CD, bought it. I mean, I was getting kind of hyped up about Symphony X. I didn't know that much about them. And I also was getting into, after not liking for a while, Shadow Gallery not long before. I concluded Shadow Gallery makes music like this that I like a lot more. This is a little too cheesy to me at times. Although I'll say the song, I believe it's Communion and the Oracle. I think it's that one. Sounds a lot like Kansas's Song for America. There's like a motif or interval pattern that basically is the same thing. But people love this. A lot of Symphony X fans I know think this is their best record. But yeah, I mean, why did I keep this album? I don't know. Probably because it just was sort of like an artifact or whatever from a period of time in history. Now, Spock's Beard's V, while it's not necessarily my favorite album, I love this record. It has The Great Nothing, which is later came to learn was kind of an homage to Kevin Gilbert, or it was not an homage, but it was influenced by and written somewhat largely about, or somewhat about. I don't know if this is a colored vinyl, it's just black. The Great Nothing. The End of the Day is great also. All on a Sunday, Thoughts Part 2, Revelation. I mean, the Neil Morris, the early Spock's Beard albums, they're all about equal. I would, including Snow. Snow, I think, is a little too long for my liking. I can't remember if this is a colored... Yeah, it is a colored vinyl. So that's kind of cool, but it's like a orangish, yeah. I only bought one Spock's Beard album when they put them on, because I just didn't have the money to buy them all. I would have bought more of them probably, but it's like, well, the Kevin thing, and The Great Nothing is a fantastic piece. I would have gone with The Light or Day for Night. I actually grew to love. This is the one that has Great Nothing, I believe, the second disc. Kindness and Strange is good, but Beware of Darkness at one point I kind of considered my favorite. So all the Neil Morris records, and Snow, of course, which is a double, but the price is the cost is in the ballpark for affordability. Someday I'd like to pick them up. It's like it's one of the prompts that's coming up. Not that it's the top of my list. I love Spock's Beard with Neil Morris, but they're not. I'm not as much of a fan as I am of other bands like Marillion, of course, but I still love those. So, all right, an album which relaxes you. This is a great. I have a few different. I mean, you could say like new age music, but the next question is like the polar opposite. But First Circle from Pat Metheny. I'll be talking about this more in the 1984 list. I believe it came in '84. The song Yolanda You Learn, the song, the title track, are just a clinic in drum and cymbal production from Paul Wertigo. I know some of this is more new agey than some of his other stuff, but oh man, this is what really made me think Pat Metheny and the Pat Metheny group, because there's two different. There's Pat Metheny and the Pat Metheny group. I've grown to learn that the Pat Metheny group is the stuff I really appreciate the most. He's genius. He's a genius. I made a topic once on the Mike Portnoy from Pat Metheny is God. At times, it's so it relaxes me. It's so uplifting, that song Yolanda You Learn. That no 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 no. It's just, if you're having a bad day, if something happens that's bad to you on ECM, put that on, and you can't feel bad. It at least brings some therapy, and it's just a happy song. It's like endorphin inducing, and the title track is just magnificent. The rest of this record I like. One thing I do like about it is some of the vocal use and the trumpet also on it. But yeah, this is like one of my go-tos. There's some other records I could put down. Tangerine Dream, the Fighter record, I suppose, as a relaxing album. But anyway. That's number 14. The 15th prompt, the heaviest record in your collection. Now, I'm measuring heaviness, you know. I'm going to choose a metal record. I could have gone a number of ways. I could have gone with something from Opeth, maybe. I could have gone with something from Sicketh, maybe. I mean, how heavy you get. Between the Buried in Me, you know. Again, you know, I don't have Gojira's From Mars to Sirius, I don't think. But that might have been able to usurp this. But I'm not that much of a Meshuggah fan. I talked about this in the A to Z series when I showed this. But this is the one Meshuggah record I can get on board with. Oh, another one would have been the band, the tech death band that I'm not remembering at this moment, but I'll remember it later, I'm sure. But you know, like the most technical, the band that I selected in my my Dream Festival, Spawn of Possession. If I would have had any Spawn of Possession, I probably could have just said, nah, I'm going with Spawn. But Spawn of Possession is probably more emphasis on technicality, it's like Vector 2, than actual heaviness. While Meshuggah is very technical, they're also super thick and heavy and dense. They're dense. It's like dense metal, you know, they invented djent. Call it dense metal versus djent metal, but I just have never been fully won over by them because I feel like I get lost in music and it kind of just, it's like industrial music. But this particular record, the IEP, came out in like 2004, I think. It was released in it's like a 10-year anniversary. It's like 25 minutes or 30 minutes, and it flows perfectly well. I do not get bored with it, and it's still heavy, but it's it just doesn't. It's totally, you know. It's not guilty of what many of the other Meshuggah records are in that it's shorter, but more importantly, it seems to flow, and it doesn't get redundant. But I don't know. I mean, I listened to a bunch of their records: Destroy, Erase, Improve, Catch 33. Was it Nothing? I think Nothing was the one I initially, when I got in, I was listening to some of the stuff I liked the most. But I just kind of, you know, it's mood music for one thing. It's so intense and so, it's like beating a dead horse. But with it's like, it's perfect. It just starts, it flows. It's like it's kind of like the extreme metal or intense metal version of Light of Day, Day of Darkness from Green Carnation. You can't believe, you know, you listen to that whole thing and it didn't bore you. But anyway, let's see. I'm almost done here. I was trying to remember Spawn of Possession's name. I would have Incurso would have been the album. I don't have any. I need to get. That'd be one of my wish lists because that's the next question. That's the last question. An album you want to get in 2024. You want to seek out. I assume it's not a new album coming out because I listed a few that. It's more of albums that you want to come out on vinyl or albums that are on vinyl that you want to purchase. So I like this band enough that I feel like I want to pick up the other records on vinyl. So I went with Team Me's debut album from 2012, To the Treetops. Love this record. Dreamy gang vocals, super energetic. The dynamics are great. I mean, this is the color scheme. I don't know if the color scheme on the vinyl itself. I know it was issued on vinyl. It was black and white like this, but Team Me's To the Treetops from 2012. I mean, I listed, you know, Durpa Robin's Firebird, The Deer Hunter Sunya, Pepe Deluxe's new album. I mean, I guess I could put Spawn of Possessions and Curso on there. I don't know if that's been issued on vinyl. It probably did, but it came out right around the time vinyl was starting to pick up again, but who knows. But, so that's it for the vinyl tag for 2024. I will maybe try to do the prog vinyl tag 2024. See, I'm wearing my Durpa Robin shirt. And then the Monkees thing, Chris Prof, you know, musically obsessed. I will try to do one. Can't promise anything with my wife, who is the lifer Monkees fan, who has the massive Monkees collection. But I'll at least try it because I really appreciate he subscribed to me, and I was like, I've always watched the channel. I like the fact he always shows Nesmith and Monkey stuff. Among his other stuff, he enjoys prog. He's like a good friend of mine. This woman named Diana, who is a huge Michael Nesmith fan, but her favorite band of all time is Gentle Giant, so she's into the prog, but also she understands the Monkees' importance and Nesmith specifically. Chris Prof is one of the best people on YouTube who champions Michael Nesmith like I try to, and my wife, and also the Monkees. So Anyway, thank you for watching. Give it a like, ring the notification bell, leave a comment, please, and we'll see you. And please subscribe, and we'll see you next time.